Namaste. Welcome back, beautiful souls. This is about episode 21 or 22 of the Tarot Avatara series. And this deck really has been, can I say it's been an exhausting journey? I have done a lot of tarot deep dives on this channel and personally. And this one is just, it's exhausting. There have been some amazing insights that have come out of this deck. And I've learned a lot. I still have a few episodes to go. I will be doing probably 5 episodes on the court cards. And then I'll do a couple of episodes of readings. So again, I'm going public today with this video, and then the remainder of the series will be back to a members only feature. I wanted to visit page 80 in the journal that I created. And for those of you that are just tuning in here, dropping in by chance, my name is Sadhana. Hello. I'm in the process of creating a tarot journal, and for this version of it, I did fill in all of the cards, but I will be creating a what would you call it? Like a blank journal where you could use these questions and prompts with any deck. So I want to look at and answer what question. This was an affirmation question, but I want to look at the journey from the Ace to the 10 in each of the suits. Okay, so we have this beautiful Ace of Wands card with the third eye lit up. And one of the things in the 10 of Wands card that shines through brightly for me is, the color, for one. It's both of these cards are definitely on fire. And the question of one's dharma, the question of one's path, the question of one's purpose is one that I always want to reflect on in the 10 of Wands. And there is so much sadness in most of these 10s. In 3 of the 10s, they're just incredibly, incredibly sad. And so from this place of potential enlightenment, I feel like the fulfillment of this suit is so skewed in a dark direction, rather than her life purpose or one's life purpose. Honestly, I don't know what to say here. So I want to let's talk about in terms of Frida Kahlo. So if her life purpose was to awaken the world to there's something about the pain of the artist and the beauty of what they create through their greatest challenges. And while this is certainly something that is fulfilled, especially post-mortem, this relationship with Diego Rivera overtook her. And here, she's in her wheelchair, she is carrying Diego, and like in most 10 of Wands cards, right, we're carrying something on the back. Well, here she's carrying Diego, perhaps like a baby, like a small child, over her lap. Granted, he does have a glass of wine, and there's other things in the card here, and yet she is drawn as a marionette. So she is the puppet, having carried this man her whole life. and not able to cut those strings. It's so sad. And I think this card could touch and trigger some very powerful emotions in with a client, someone where this card came up in a reading. So is the potential of the Ace of Wands realized in the 10? No, not at all. It feels like there's an absolute redo that is necessary, that the boat was missed, and it's a really hard card to look at. I do want to also, I believe I did a page, yes, I did a page called, where I have the 9s and the 10s. How does the 10 respond? How does the 10 respond to the reflection or the lesson of the 9? Well, you remember in the 9 of Wands, we have this beautiful sort of, all these paintings, these memories, these reflections surrounding her. And it feels deep, and she's at peace and calm. And yet, despite this reflection, chooses to focus on this greatest complication in her dharma, to wind up this suit. So, yeah, it's a really difficult card to finish the suit of Wands with. Now let's go back to the another very challenging suit, the Cups. And I have read and reread this Ace of Cups description, and still haven't quite wrapped my head around it. So I'm going to read it aloud, and then I'm going to share with you my take on this and the journey through the suit of water. All right. When I paint, I make gifts of love. I pour everything into my art. It's deeply personal. And for inspiration, I drink deeply at my ancestral well, where the dove brought the message. I drink deeply at the ancestral well where the dove brought the message, the word of God, and gave it to the Indians. All was changed. Morality, ethics, feelings imbued with a Western civility. So there is, from the beginning of this suit, an awareness of the traditional Mexican culture being poisoned by outside influences. And we know in studying this deck that leaving the homeland was always very hard on Frida, that she was most alive in the tradition of her native culture, customs, people, and language. My thoughts are that this gift was made from love. So the intention of the missionaries, the intention of the outsiders, shall we call them, was good. The travelers and the missionaries carried the word and offered salvation, bringing a God's love to a place where it was not sought. And yet the Indians drank greedily at this new mother's milk. And so we see the mammary glands in this reflection of Frida. We see the grail, the cup. There are fish swimming in the cup. They are greedily drinking at the cup. It looks almost like the dove is drinking from a mammary gland. Like this is deep. Dark. Let's go on here. On a good day, I am charitable and see the love and feel the intentions were good and other days I see the violence, death, and disease. What do I feel about it? Well, now into this modern world where we can know we have no use for that crutch of fallacious gods. I love it as stories, as vessels for my history. Cognitive dissonance alive, well, and thriving inside me. So that in this Ace of Cups, there is a confusion. There's almost the feeling of betrayal in this gift of God that was offered to the Mexican people. And I think having this reflection at the Ace of Cups shows us that this suit is going to be an emotional, like the emotional journey and her history with her people and her reason for being. Like, this is all so intertwined and so very, very connected. Now in the 10, we kind of it's not followed through. So one of the reasons I'm doing this is because I love a tarot deck where you can see, hi Arya, where you can see the journey from the Ace to the 10 as completed. But I don't feel that connection here in this deck. Now, the 10 of Cups looks like a great ancestral kind of card. Lots of ancestors. So we do have that theme of ancestry that is here. They are mostly wearing, looks more like Western clothing, not Mexican type clothing. But it's not entirely clear. If I look at the journey from the 9 of Cups, I just scroll down here, the 9 of Cups to the 10 of Cups. Yes, this 9 of Cups was also a very sad card. So this card, which is a card of abundance and fullness of emotion, again reminds us of the loss of the babies, and that the 9 of Cups will forever be a dream or an intention and never be fulfilled. Almost like she failed the ancestry of the 10 of Cups. So my point here is that, and I think this is an important exercise in examining a tarot deck, is to look at the aces and to look at the 10s and to see if the potential, or perhaps what aspect of the potential, was realized in the 10. Yeah, and it's certainly not easy. Sorry for the radio silence. Let's go to this page and look at the 9 and the 10. So what changed? Is there any evolution? Do we see a conclusion from the 9 to the 10? So in the 9 of Swords, this was a story of a dream, and Frida was, in the end, perhaps saw it as a cleansing. All of the toxicity within her body was removed by this hummingbird. It's described a little more graphically in the guidebook. And then in the 10 of Swords, she is completely impaled and dies. And so in this story, there is a very tense struggle between letting go and hanging on, push and pull. But certainly, I think in all of these 10 cards, except perhaps for the 10 of Wands, there's a sense of, yes, it's time to move on. It's time to let go. I can't possibly be any more wounded than I am. I think the Knight of Pentacles was quite good. We have this very overgrown garden connecting us to the Venusian energy that is associated with this card. And then the Ten of Pentacles is very hard to pull apart. Let's see if I can get a... sorry, I don't want to flip between screens because I want to look at other parts of the journal. So I'm going to go back to the page where I've got a larger Ten of Pentacles to zoom in on. There we go. This is a really tough card. So if you think of the Ten of Pentacles, I suppose it depends on how you view the tarot, whether this is the end of the journey. It's certainly not the end of the zodiacal journey, but it is and could be considered the 78th card in the tarot. And it is very, very rich. Now, if you look carefully, you can see a braid on the top of this head. So on the right, we have perhaps Frida wearing boys' clothing. And on her back, we see Adam. You could see the Vitruvian Man. So we have a symbol of completion here. You know, it's so interesting. I'm looking at the sun in this card. And, well, let's just finish the symbols. I want to come back to the sun. And then on the other Frida's back, we have the Tree of Life. We see the frazzled nervous system. And between them, this is described as a monkey. Now, we have seen a monkey before in this deck. And at the back of the guidebook, she does describe what some of these symbols are intended to mean. So monkey, simpler time, animal needs, mischief, fun company, undisciplined thoughts, running amok. So maybe this monkey here represents simpler times, but there's something going on. So it's almost like the crawfish, the crayfish has grabbed the monkey. The monkey, if you look carefully, has some sort of is pulling like a pin out of her back. And then we see something through the monkey's paw, which looks perhaps like Yesod, the sacral chakra. And so there's is this a relief of the pain that is happening in this card? There's water all in the forefront. And it's almost like the fish is eating the crawfish who's grabbing the monkey. Again, this is the end. It's like it's all done. Maybe the monkey is removing the pain in the end. The sun there, if that is the sun, and this is a 10, and 10s are connected to Malkut at the base of the Tree of Life. And you look up the Tree of Life, so halfway up is the Sephira of the sun. So this could be pointing to a place of contentment. All this pain is on the back. It's been carried the whole way through the whole story. And if we go back to the page where I had the Ace of Pentacles and the Ten of Pentacles, you'll see that we do have the pelvis is featured in the Ace of Pentacles. And here she is lying on her back, and we see the pelvis in the center of the card, the pelvis that was fractured. So we begin with a fracture and we end with a healing of it. In the end, is she healed? Well, I'd say she certainly lets go. And one of the questions I've been asking the whole way through this deck is what I think this is important. When you choose a heavily themed deck, can you use it as a straight up tarot deck? And I think it takes tremendous experience to do that, and tremendous study to do that. So you can pull out what you need and be able to utilize the story of the deck and then bring in your studying of tarot in appropriate ways to respond to whatever question has arisen in a reading. And it's not easy. It's really difficult. So I titled this episode The Alpha and the Omega. When I'm looking at ones and tens, I also am I want so much from tarot creators to build in these connections. And in the wheel, we're seeing the symbols for the suits. So we do see the carp or the fish, the hummingbird from the swords. We see the snake. And it's we see Frida in different aspects. And while this kind of looks like Diego here, I'm seeing breasts. And it's funny, I just did a chat on the wheel card in my Marseille series, and this portrayal is really interesting. So in the center, you could say that Frida is Fortuna. She is you are the turner of your own wheel. And your whole life. Wow, your whole life. Is she stepping through? That's another, look at her. It almost looks as if she's stepping through. Okay, if we go to, do I have this here? We don't, in the universe card, which is another card of completion, it sort of fits into the story of the Alpha and the Omega. It's almost like she is floating through the mandorla of bones rather than leaves. What I wanted to say was that it appears like in the 10, you could say she's stepping up onto the wheel, and she will be the one who's spinning around, but in a way I almost feel like she's stepping through, she's stepping towards us. And so I think there's a lot of possibilities for readings with this particular card of change. While this is a card that is inspired by the art of Lady Frieda Harris, there are a lot of symbols and Crowley energy that's not included in this deck. It's also very Waite Smith inspired deck, and it kind of flips and flops between these two takes on the tarot. Okay, let's look at these ones. Here I have 1, 1, 1, and 221. I don't have the judgment card here. I can put that on the table. Actually, let me just exit out of here, and I'll put the cards on the table for you. So part of my practice in examining and studying a deck is to look at all these connections. And the wheel card is it's a 10, right? It's an X. And the judgment card is an X. It's a double wheel card. And this is one of those decks that very much amplifies the English meaning of the word judgment. There is a sense of being judged. And throughout the deck, the gravity, the energy continues to pull down into the pain of Malkut. I feel like this deck, in very few instances, ever gets out of the root and the sacral chakra. It is so heavy and so very, very dark. And even here in the judgment card, which has the possibility of major transformation. This is the card before the world card. It's the double change card. Here she stands before all of the wealthy, the art critics, and she is vulnerable. She's naked. What has she got around her neck? Is that her heart? She has her heart around her neck, and they're all offering a price for her. So again, it's really sad. And yes, she does have angel wings on, and maybe she could fly away. And if we look at the transition from judgment to universe, I'd say that, yeah, I mean, this is perhaps this is a statement of letting go. And I can't walk away, I can't run away, but I can float and I can fly away. And so throughout this story and and maybe that's one of the reasons why I feel this deck has been one of exhaustion for me in trying to examine and weave together the lessons of the tarot and the planetary correspondences and the symbolic correspondences of the tarot with this story, is that it's so heavily skewed to the story of Frida Kahlo. Sometimes it's hard to find the tarot in the deck. And I keep wanting to do that because I believe this deck has tremendous possibility as a healing deck. But I would never want this story to make the story of a client feel worse than they already do. You know, you would have to be so ready to do the dark inner work to take on a deck like this. Yeah. All right. So for those of you that have been with me through this whole series, what I suggest you do is have a really good look, maybe fan out ace through 10 of each suit and see if you can get a feeling for each of the suits. Is there a complete story in each of the suits? Or what is the main lesson in suit A, suit B, suit C, and suit D. And we're going to do that with the court cards in the next few episodes. Diego Rivera lived about 3 years after she died. He started a fund to turn her house into a museum about her, so he became the one who proved his love via keeping her memory alive. Yeah. Yes. And if you look at the Herrera biography, if you watch so in all of these videos I've had down below, there is the biography by Herrera, and there's a couple of the films that are linked as well too. And when you look at the pictures of him at her funeral and after she died, he really changed. Like, he lost a tremendous amount of weight. That could be from his illness, but it could have simply been life after Frida. Because it's hard not to believe like that the intensity of their love was palpable. And so, yeah, so he commemorated her by turning the blue house into a museum. Okay, so as I was saying, I think it would be a really good exercise to take the ace from the ace to 10 and just look at, and just choose one, no pressure to do them all. Just see if there's an essence you can capture in any one of the suits. And then maybe but down below you could share that main message of that suit. Okay. So, upcoming 5 episodes or so on the court cards. I might put some of them together. And the court card pages are not in the Google Docs yet. What is in the Google Docs are all of the extra pages for the major arcana. So those are all there for you. And I will get those court card pages up over the next few days. Okay? Thank you so much for joining me today. Take good care of yourselves. Namaste.